for example, Andrew Tate talks about and I think he's right in a lot of what he says as far as, young men are hurting and they need to be told not to be hyperly emotional, but to be disciplined in regulating their emotions. There are things that he says that are right, and then there are things that he does that kind of do as I say, not as I do. But people say it's a men's rights thing, and we've been doing this on the show since, Cassie J back in 15, 16. Young men who are hurting, they're suffering, but they feel as though they're suffering with no end in sight, right? No kind of redemption. That's what a lot of young men feel, where they're browbeaten for being men, and then they're not as good at being women, and they're just checking out of the dating pool. 40-something% of young men don't want to get married, and 60-something% of young women say there aren't men worth marrying. Do you see that as a reason that maybe sometimes people like the Andrew Tates of the world, that's why young men tend to gravitate toward them and get maybe a piece of the puzzle but miss another component?
Yeah, so I haven't followed Tate for long. I tried, and then I said something he didn't like, and he blocked me on Twitter.
Yeah.
Anyway, he mentioned somewhere, though, that, hey, to talk with me, if you give $50,000 to a charity of your choice, then I'll tell you, I will take him up on that. So I would love to talk with Andrew Tate on masculinity in a forum like this. Now, I'll donate the $50,000 to a charity of my choice. Yeah. That's okay. And I'll show it all up. But I would love to talk to him.
I think you'd probably agree on more than you disagree, and then that last stretch.
But that last stretch is really pernicious. It's a really big deal,
right?
Because he is, we agree on some big pieces of self-accountability and be strong and tell the truth, and I love all that stuff that he puts out. But if humility is the center of morality, for me, and I think that it is, and that's part of being, you can't hold together deep relationships over long periods of time without a measure of humility. You become insufferable, and he's leading folks to be consummately arrogant and prideful. No one's accusing him of being humble.
Yeah.
And I think that is really, really bad. He's serving up a beautiful steak, mashed potato, beautiful meal with a little arsenic in there. And it's deadly. Yeah. And so I do not want young men emulating all of Tate. There's some pieces there, but you could go other places and get the full thing as well. I like some of the things he says, but holy smokes, that is a dangerous path, and it's going to destroy your relationships or destroy the things that matter the most to you. And you'll end up with flashy cars, maybe, and a lot of money, and you're going to die alone and miserable. That's what I think.
Right, because that was going to be my next question. Some young people are at a stage where they think fame, flashy cars, they think those are things that I want.
It's fool's gold. It's fool's gold. Whatever celebrity that you can achieve, whatever riches are filled with untold amounts of poverty. There's something so much better. Andrew Tate will never know the depth that I've experienced in my joy with my 16-year bride, my kids. He'll never get a taste of that. He doesn't have the relational character and the humility to be able to pull it off. He'll never know what he's missing.
Or maybe he doesn't have it now.
Maybe he doesn't have it now.
We don't know how this. Yeah. I always tell people we never, and I'm not just talking about, but in general with young people who go like, I say, look, you don't know how this story ends. How many times have you been in the worst spot and then it completely changes? I mean, how many times have you known people who've been diagnosed, with terminally ill, and it doesn't happen? How many? And it does happen sometimes, but the truth is you don't know how the story ends, so you have to behave and exercise in your day-to-day. Treat it as though it can turn around, and you'll still be around for that.
Yeah.
And I think, those are kind of when you can't really live that way if you're looking at riches of the now.
Right. Yeah.
And maybe he'll have that humbling experience, but the problem is that
I think some of it is also, he has a persona which has been, which is something that he needs to do. Like there are people out there sometimes where it's, Muhammad Ali was friends with a lot of the guys who we would trash talk. Part of it is the entertainment side of it. So you don't know how much of it is a disagreement versus, kind of a path to.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at kind of how Andrew lives his life and the things that he has and kind of what he espouses, like if there is that moment where there's a humbling experience, it's going to cost him a lot more because he's gone so far in the direction of what would appear not to be a humble existence or a humble life. Right. And so the fall has to be greater necessarily at those heights.
Yeah. And Tate gets to live however he wants. I'm like, I don't feel the impulse to adjust him or fix him. It's all the young men that are looking for emulation. And I'm like, guys, I get you see some of the strengths in what he's saying, but what you don't realize is there's a bridge out ahead.
Right.
And if you follow him, you're going to drive over it.
Watch Louder with Crowder live, Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern.